Before we reveal the forensic blind spot that changed everything, you need to understand the full story. This is part 3, the finale, of the Fatal Beauty investigation. If you haven't watched parts 1 and 2 on this channel, pause now and start there. You need to see the beautiful reservoir that was built, the warning signs that appeared, and the depressional features that fooled everyone. Because what I'm about to show you, the real trigger hidden in plain sight, will only make sense when you know why this reservoir survived 514 days before Hurricane David arrived. Ready? Let's expose what the forensic investigation missed, the forensic misconception and the real trigger. The original forensic assessment of the FPL Martin Reservoir failure was fundamentally flawed. Not only did it misidentify the root cause, incorrectly attributing the depressional features to sinkhole activity, it completely overlooked the critical trigger event that precipitated the catastrophic collapse. What the assessment failed to document was this. The sudden failure on October 30th, 1979, directly followed an unprecedented spike in reservoir water level. In the 30 days preceding the collapse, the region received nearly 15 inches of rainfall, a deluge centered on Hurricane David, which alone delivered 5.23 inches on September 3rd and 4th, 1979. But the assault didn't stop there. The rains continued, creating two distinct peaks in 30-day cumulative rainfall. The first peak hit 14.90 inches on September 14th. The second peak, 14.65 inches, came on September 28th, just 32 days before catastrophic failure. This sudden 1.2-foot rise in reservoir level was the death blow. For a reservoir holding water 15 to 17 feet above ground level, this 12-inch surge represented a massive increase in hydraulic head pressure on the already developing backward erosion piping channels beneath the dam. The evidence was clear but unseen. Makeup flow requirements to maintain reservoir level suddenly jumped from a steady 44 cubic feet per second to over 100 cubic feet per second. This dramatic increase meant only one thing. The subterranean flow rate had more than doubled. An underground tunnel was rapidly expanding beneath the dam, which critically lacked both a clay core and a cutoff wall to prevent such erosion. In just 30 days following Hurricane David, the backward erosion piping evolved from a manageable seepage problem to a fully developed failure mechanism. The reservoir that had remained stable for 514 days was overwhelmed in just 56 days, a forensic finding that should have been impossible to miss. For 514 days, the reservoir held steady. Then Hurricane David brought unprecedented rainfall, 15 inches in 30 days. The makeup flow more than doubled. The signs were there, the data was there, yet the forensic assessment missed it entirely, focusing on sinkholes that didn't exist while ignoring the catastrophic piping erosion that killed the reservoir in just 56 days. Perhaps the most important question in forensic engineering isn't what happened, but rather, Enigma, 1996. I'm asking why. I'm asking why. Nobody gives an answer. I'm just asking why. Why did we fail to see what was right in front of us? The hidden network revealed. 1940 aerial photography. What you're seeing in these 1940 aerials isn't what the forensic engineers thought they were looking at after the 1979 reservoir catastrophe. These aren't random sinkhole depressions. These are depressional vents, the surface expression of a vast underground plumbing system hidden within the shallow sand lens. Like nodes in a neural network, these circular collapse features mark the critical junctions along preferential subterranean seepage pathways that had been quietly developing for decades beneath the surface. The forensic investigators missed it entirely. They were looking at the aftermath, not the architecture. What they couldn't see, the interconnected flow paths threading through the permeable sand lens like arteries, building pressure, seeking equilibrium. And when the reservoir finally breached in 1979, these vents didn't just fail, they erupted. Like volcanic blowouts, the collapse vents along these preferential flow paths exploded in sequence as the underground hydraulic network catastrophically unzipped. Now, through animation and mapping, we can finally visualize the invisible, the interconnected pathways that made this disaster inevitable. Sit back. Turn up the music. Watch the network come alive. This is geology as it actually happens, violent, dynamic, and hiding in plain sight. Fatal beauty. How ancient beach sand collapsed. Florida's biggest reservoir, the night paradise, fought back. Here for the first time are the most fascinating details of the largest reservoir collapse in Florida history, taking you back to the very beginning to show the geological formation that brought it down. But our story begins on the eastern shore of Lake Okeechobee, in Indiantown, Florida, a place most people have never heard of, even in Florida. October 30th, 1979, the night before Halloween, Martin County. While the Bee Gees rocked the world with tragedy, part of their record-breaking year with 7 songs in the top 40, and America prepared for trick-or-treaters, something far more terrifying was about to unfold in the middle of the night. Just 18 months before, Florida Power and Light had constructed a massive cooling reservoir on existing sloping terrain. The land rose naturally from 20 feet above sea level in the southwest to 30 feet in the northeast, and engineers built an earthen dam to elevation 50 feet, 30 feet higher than the low ground. This 1953 USGS map reveals the story in exquisite detail. The landforms, wetlands, gentle slopes, and precise elevations, the Florida East Coast Railway line running along the western edge, and something else that would prove crucial. Sand pits dug long before any reservoir was ever imagined. The earthen embankment rose with an outboard slope of 3-to-1 horizontal to vertical, a 16-foot wide access road at the top, and an inboard slope of 2 horizontal to 1 vertical. At 6,600 acres, this represented 19 miles of earthen dikes, holding back massive volumes of cooling water for Florida Power Light's huge power plant. The catastrophic night. Then came the night of October 30th, 1979. In the middle of the night on Halloween Eve, at exactly 11:30 p.m. without warning, brilliant blazing white beach sand exploded out of the ground like a volcanic eruption. 600 feet of earthen dam vanished in moments, unleashing 100,000 cubic feet of water per second, a flow rate never before seen in Florida, more powerful than Niagara Falls. By 1 a.m., the force was so immense that it overturned a Florida East Coast Railway freight train in complete darkness. The train crew initially reported it as merely a flash flood, not knowing they were witnessing the largest reservoir failure in Florida history. The visual shock of this failure captured national attention and left engineers bewildered. This was no ordinary flood. This was a beauty of nature somehow entwined with catastrophic failure. Crystal clear water carrying pristine white sand that witnesses said looked like milk, like clouds, like paradise liquefied. The earth didn't collapse. It dissolved, like sugar in water. Beautiful and terrible. The peak flow of 100,000 cubic feet per second occurred at 3:30 a.m. By 3:00 p.m. the next day, 66,000 acre-feet of water had drained away. 14,100 acres lay flooded with what appeared to be liquid paradise. The visual impact was unprecedented. Aerial photographs showed a landscape transformed overnight into something that looked more like an otherworldly white desert than Florida farmland. What baffled engineers most was not the scale of destruction, but its cause. In every photograph, in every witness account, in every piece of evidence, white sand. White sand everywhere. Perfect, mesmerizing white sand that had poured out from somewhere deep beneath the reservoir. Not the brown clay or dark soil you would expect, but brilliant white sand so pure it seemed to glow. The cover-up and forgotten lessons, the 1983 USGS map, surveyed after the failure, provides invaluable evidence that was hidden beneath the water during the original disaster. This post-failure survey revealed the locations of all the borrow pits that had been excavated within the reservoir footprint, including one critical pit just outside the embankment toe that proved to be the key player in this geological drama. What followed was a forensic investigation by the nation's best engineering experts and a lawsuit that extended for years after the failure. But the lawyers made sure to keep everything fuzzy. No definitive conclusions, no clear blame, no understanding of the true cause. The mystery remained unsolved. Perhaps more tragically, the superior knowledge gained from this catastrophic experience was never passed on to the next generation of engineers. Today, engineers are building reservoirs and water storage cells in the exact same area with zero knowledge of what triggered the 1979 collapse. This institutional amnesia has resulted in much more recent litigation over the identical geological issue, though the connection remains unrecognized. The entire failure has been forgotten and filed away. 46 years of silence, 46 years of lost knowledge, 46 years of engineers unknowingly dancing with the same geological time bomb. Journey back in time. But now, 46 years later, we have a chance to revisit this disaster with technologies that were not imaginable in 1979. Where do we start? We must go back much further than anyone imagined. Our story begins 2.5 million years ago, when scientists first detected permanent ice formation on Earth's polar regions. This marked the beginning of the modern ice age, not a single frozen period, but a complex rhythm of glacial and interglacial cycles. Every 50 to 100,000 years, like clockwork, massive ice sheets would grow and lower sea levels by hundreds of feet, then melt back down, causing seas to rise again. Since that first ice formation, Earth has experienced dozens of these major cycles. We must examine one particular cycle, the one scientists call marine isotope 5e or MIS 5e, and its profound impact on Florida. Science has now concluded that we had a high sea level stand in Florida at elevation 28 feet above today's level, 125,000 years ago. That high stand lasted for several thousand years, carving a shoreline at that precise elevation. Here's what makes this discovery so startling. The FPL reservoir was constructed on land between 20 and 30 feet elevation. The reservoir sat directly on the ancient plus 28-foot shoreline, the birth of Crystal Sand Bay. At this time, 125,000 years ago, the human structure was just forming to create the modern human. We really did not exist as a species yet. But those shells which formed the coquina? That same species is still abundant in Florida today. When you examine the plus 28-foot shoreline, one thing slaps you in the face. The huge back barrier lagoon at this location, sandwiched between Green Ridge, which was a barrier island then, and the higher Orlando Ridge. It's huge, and it's shallow, and we have seen nothing like this in our coastline's history. Today we call it Alapata Flats, a native word meaning alligator flats, and it is one of the most confusing landscapes in Florida. When sea level pushed up to plus 28 feet, there was a massive amount of white silica sand, as brilliant white as you can get. It blinds you in the sun. These almost pure quartzite sands came from the Appalachians long ago and sat offshore until the sea level rise pushed them up to the new shoreline. At elevation plus 28 feet, the alligator flats became what we now call Crystal Sand Bay. A shallow, protected lagoon with significant shelter from Green Ridge offshore, its bottom lined with this brilliant white sand. Picture this ancient paradise. 80,000 acres of crystal-clear warm water, protected behind Green Ridge Barrier Island, fed by pristine springs. The bottom lined with that brilliant white quartzite sand that looks like premium aquarium sand, so perfect it seems artificial. No pollution, no development, no human impact. Just nature's perfect crystal lagoon that lasted for 15,000 years. As sea level retreated, that white sterile sand, which barely supports vegetation, was rafted in and has remained there for over 100,000 years. Eventually, it was covered by only 3 to 4 feet of modern soil, sometimes even less. This white sand layer is about 2 to 3 feet thick, horizontally pervasive and highly permeable. We call it the sand lens. Compared to its top and bottom layers, it is a hidden superhighway for seepage. The mechanics of destruction. The phenomenon we call today backward erosion piping was known but not yet formally termed in 1979. When this sand lens gets exposed by a cut, such as a ditch or borrow pit, water follows the law of gravity and exploits points of weakness. The exploited localized point starts to seep faster, and then particles start dislodging. When there's water pressure acting on that sand layer, remember the water elevation in the railway borrow pit at the time of failure was plus 17.5 feet, compared to plus 36.74 feet in the reservoir just 400 feet away. That's nearly a 20-foot head pressure differential. Particles start peeling off, and the erosion eats backwards like a mole tunneling through the earth. As the soil erodes in that subterranean channel, water does something truly dangerous. It synergizes itself. The erosion accelerates exponentially because flow rate is not linear to opening size. Here's the terrifying mathematics that contractors learn too late. Within an hour, it can go from 1 gallon per minute to 1,000 gallons per minute, and then to 10,000 gallons per minute in the next 30 minutes. At that point, backward erosion piping transforms into rapid undermining which cannot be controlled. The technical smoking gun. Here are the construction details that condemn the engineering decision. Embankment construction began in April 1974 and was completed in July 1977. Reservoir filling began February 6, 1978, reaching maximum design elevation of 37 feet by April 3, 1978. The water level was maintained between 36 and 37.24 feet until the day of failure, when the pool stage stood at 36.74 feet, well within design parameters. But here's the smoking gun. The engineers designed an essentially homogeneous embankment, meaning no impermeable core, no cut-off wall, just sand piled on sand, and they knew the foundation was pervious material. The official report states, since the embankment was founded on pervious material, it was anticipated that considerable seepage would occur. They built anyway. Makeup pumping averaged 48 cubic feet per second, and then up to over 100 cubic feet per second in the period preceding the collapse. They were constantly fighting seepage through that ancient crystal sand bay layer. The James L. Sherrod irony. The involvement of Dr. James L. Sherrod in this catastrophic failure represents one of the most stunning paradoxes in engineering history. Sherrod was literally the world's foremost authority on embankment dam failures, having worked on over 220 dam projects worldwide and authored the definitive textbook, Earth and Earth Rock Dams. Just 3 years before the FPL failure, Sherrod investigated the Teton Dam collapse and criticized it for designs that would have been considered unacceptable by independent specialists. Yet the FPL reservoir exhibited the exact failure mechanisms he had spent his career documenting. By settling on contractual liability limitations and leaving no technical documentation of the sand lens failure mechanism, the engineers violated the fundamental duty of the profession to learn from failures and protect future lives. Modern technology reveals the truth. Using USGS National Viewer 3D technology that didn't exist in 1979, I found the exact spot where it blew out. See that little mountain they filled up to plus 35 feet? That's the blowout location, right where the catastrophic failure occurred. Their solution? They built a mountain on top of it like a super sandbag. Rather than addressing the underlying geological problem, they simply buried it under thousands of tons of fill material. But here's what should alarm every engineer. See that other hump right next to the main repair mountain? It's not a secondary failure location. It's a spare pile of emergency dirt, kept ready in case they need to raise that mountain higher. They maintain a stockpile of emergency repair material because they know this ancient beach sand could strike again at any moment. 46 years later, they're still playing defense against a 125,000-year-old beach. The ongoing threat. These major facilities are typically designed by large national engineering firms with limited Florida-specific geological experience. What they don't realize is that Florida is not continental United States. We only geologically connected about 25 million years ago. We're essentially a 25 million-year-old piece of Caribbean seafloor that drifted north and collided with Georgia. Engineers from continental U.S. states naturally apply continental geological principles to Florida projects. But our limestone karst, our marine terraces, our ancient beach deposits, none of this exists in standard textbooks. The MIS 5E marine terrace at 28 feet elevation? Local Florida engineers know about it from reading topographic maps daily. But it's not taught in engineering schools in other states because it doesn't exist there. No one ever revisited the technical lessons. The failure report was filed away, never to become a teaching case in engineering schools. The brilliant white sand evidence was covered with fill dirt and forgotten. Today, engineers are building new reservoirs and water storage cells in the exact same area, with zero knowledge of what triggered the 1979 collapse. The same geological time bomb threatens every major water project being built in Martin County today. Final warning. The ancient lagoon that we now call Crystal Sand Bay was nature's perfect engineering masterpiece, more spectacular than any modern resort could ever create. When sea level retreated, that perfect beach was buried under just 3 feet of soil, waiting. Not with malice, just being what it had always been. In Florida, when something looks this beautiful, this perfect, this pristine, when white sand blinds you in the sun and looks like premium aquarium substrate, remember this story. Because here in the Sunshine State, paradise has a very long memory, unlimited patience, and all the time in the world to plan its comeback. When 125,000-year-old Crystal Sand Bay finally decided to reclaim its territory, all the engineering in the world couldn't stop nature's most beautiful revenge. Fatal beauty isn't just a phrase, it's a geological reality. In Florida, when looks can kill, they really can kill. Drop Dead Gorgeous has never been more literal. The ancient Crystal Sand Bay taught us that sometimes the most dangerous thing you'll never see coming is paradise itself, patiently waiting beneath your feet. Remember, never trust a beach that's been buried for 125,000 years. It's still a beach. It still remembers how to move water, and it's been planning this comeback since before humans walked the earth. When paradise looks this good, it's a trap.
These first set of videos show very rare security camera footage, which captures a pond's concrete spillway, undermining and collapsing from start to finish. The first event is in October 2019, right after construction is complete and it is reconstructed, and then the same undermining failure is repeated in September 2021 at the same location. Rapid subsurface undermining is not well understood in Florida, where most of the time such failures are considered slope stability or overtopping related, or even improper construction. However, the sandy soils in Florida under differential water levels can self-bore through the path of least resistance and concentrate flow into a subterranean conduit, which causes the water to vortex on the upstream side and boil on the downstream side. This is not textbook flow through homogeneous sand, but it turns into surface flow eroding the sand. And as the gouged opening expands, the flow rate increases exponentially, leading to rapid failure. More will be explained, but have a look first.
Undermining failures like this demonstrate water's hidden power exploiting Florida's geology. Water always follows gravity, a law no lawyer has found a loophole in. In 1979, Florida Power and Light's reservoir failed catastrophically. Engineers called it piping because backward erosion piping wasn't understood. The discharge reached 100,000 cubic feet per second, same as the killer Guadalupe River in Texas. It derailed a freight train in minutes. Florida has hidden sandwich layers, thin seams of highly permeable sand, with flow rates 10 to 100 times higher than surrounding soils. These occur at depths like 4 to 6 feet or 26 to 28 feet, acting like concealed highways for water. Backward erosion piping starts at exit points. Fine particles wash out, forming tiny pipes that grow upstream. Harmless seepage transforms into concentrated stream flow with exponential erosive power. Concrete spillways represent the most common failure type. Water exploits the boundary between soil and structure. The process seems controllable, then amplifies exponentially. Water follows physics, always exploiting the weakest path. Once stream erosion begins, solid ground vanishes in moments. The animations show exactly how this invisible process works.
In the next 5 minutes, you're going to witness something extraordinary. The complete transformation of Florida through 150,000 years of Earth's history, based on scientific data from ice cores, coral reefs, and geological records. You'll start in an ice age, when Florida stretched twice its current size, extending 150 miles into what's now the Gulf of Mexico. You'll watch the first catastrophic melt around 130,000 years ago, when warming temperatures collapsed the ice sheets and sent sea levels soaring 30 feet higher than today. Southern Florida will completely disappear beneath the waves, the Everglades, Miami, the Keys, all submerged beneath a warm ocean. Then you'll see the ice return, slowly at first, then dramatically. Florida will expand again as temperatures plummet toward the last glacial maximum 26,000 years ago, when sea levels dropped an astounding 430 feet below present. The peninsula will grow massive with coastlines at the edge of the continental shelf. Watch for the dramatic markers that will flash on screen. You'll see when humans first left Africa 65,000 years ago, when they crossed the Bering Land Bridge. The moment they arrived in Florida 14,000 years ago, just as catastrophic melting began. You'll witness meltwater pulse 1A and 1B, rapid sea level rises that transformed the landscape within human lifetimes. The animation shows every major event through color-coded pulses. White, yellow, and red coastlines mark the active sea level. Text overlays will identify crucial moments. The year counter will track your journey from 150,000 BCE to present day. The sea level indicator shows exactly how much water has risen or fallen. By the end, you'll understand that the Florida we know, the beaches, the cities, the Everglades, all of it emerged just 6,000 years ago. Everything built here sits on land that has been seafloor before and will be again. This is not a projection or simulation. This is history, recorded in stone and sediment, playing out before your eyes. The story of Florida is about to begin.
mass changes which cause these dramatic sea level changes. Living in Florida never heard of Indian
I was childish and unfair. To you, my only friend, I regret, but now it's too late. I can't show you anymore the things I've learned from you, 'cause life just took you away. I'm asking why. Nobody gives an answer. I'm just asking why. But someday we'll meet again, and I'll ask you why it has to be like this. I'm asking you why. Please give me an answer. Many years and stupid fights, till we accept to see how it was and it'll always be. Why it has to be like this. Why we don't realize. Why we're too blind to see the one who's always on our side. I'm asking why. Nobody gives an answer. I'm just asking why. Just tell me why. Why it has to be like this. That the good ones disappear. I'm asking you why. I'm asking why. Nobody gives an answer. I'm just asking why.